Welcome to the 37th in a series of shows focused on Brookline as an age-friendly community. In 2012, the World Health Organization designated Brookline its first age-friendly community in New England. This was the result of work by the Select Board, Brookline residents, town departments, and Brookline CAN, an all-volunteer organization that provided leadership. Brookline CAN works on issues for residents of all ages. Summer is coming, and as summer arrives in Brookline, we are thankful and appreciative of our parks and open space. And our guest tonight is the Director of Parks and Open Space Division, Alexandra Vecchio. Alexandra is currently the director, and she's responsible for 50 part-time, full-time staff that are technical, operation, etc. She's also works with all of the other divisions in DPW. She works with the Select Board, outside agencies, and the various groups in Brookline that are involved with parks and care about them. Before Brookline, Alexandra was at the Yale School of Environment. Before Brookline, she was first of all climate change program director at Mass Audubon, an organization I really appreciate, actually. And she's also a certified provider for the Commonwealth's Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. Before that, she was at Yale, and she was in the School of Environment, and she achieved a Master's of Environmental Management. She specialized in climate change adaptation, land use planning, and water resource management, and worked for a number of supported actually development and implementation of sustainability plans for universities and cities. Prior to that, she worked in Washington, D.C. as a legislative assistant for Congressman Mike Quigley. And she also worked on federal issues of energy, environment, and climate change. I see a theme. Alexandra is uniquely qualified for the time and place. Welcome. So Alexandra, first of all, tell us something about the division.
Well, good evening. Thank you. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for the kind introduction, Matt. Appreciate it. So I have been with the Brookline Parks and Open Space Division for a little over a year now. And as you mentioned, so we are one of 4 divisions that makes up the Department of Public Works here in Brookline. And, you know, for being a relatively small community, you know, just over 6 square miles, we have a lot of different parks and open spaces that my team is responsible for managing and caring for, and doing our best to help them meet the needs of the community. So it's been really fun getting to know the people and the places over the past year when I started this position.
So I feel that you are one of the biggest reasons for our age friendliness. Now, it's not necessarily the World Health Organization or AARP or the world, but I think the people in Brookline would say that. And part of that is just the community that you foster with your facilities. What do you think? You know, what is your involvement really with age friendliness with people of older adults?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, parks improve the quality of life for everyone, no matter their age. And I think in Brookline, what we're really trying to do is make sure that we have a network of spaces to meet all different community needs. So that's everything from active recreation to just passive enjoyment of these green spaces. And I think it also provides obviously some ecological benefits as well in a pretty dense urban area in Metro Boston. and just really an opportunity for health and wellness of all people, including senior citizens as well. So we really, when we're designing or redesigning a park or thinking about the management and care of a park, we really try to take into consideration all people, all abilities, and all uses. And it's a balance, right? Different users have different needs, and it's kind of about finding the sweet spot. We talk a lot about finding what works the best for the most, and it's something that we're actively trying to improve upon each and every day, really. But in particular, when we're doing any sort of capital investment in our parks.
So these pictures are fabulous, first of all. And second of all, when you said active and passive, active is the dogs, I understand that. But what's the passive part?
Well, yeah. So our active parks are typically ones where we have active recreation programs in them. So whether it be there's, a baseball diamond there, there's a lacrosse field, a soccer field, that's what we consider kind of more of those active parks. They usually also have a playground component to them as well for different age groups. The more passive areas are, kind of like these neighborhood parks that we have. And so some of those, depending on where you live, your neighborhood park differs. But for example, Boylston Street Playground or Clark Playground or Quarry Hill or Griggs Park, Murphy Playground, Robinson, those are all kind of these neighborhood parks. The passive parks kind of take on that same similarity in that they are kind of nestled within these neighborhoods, but they're typically smaller and they lack constructed play areas. It's really intended to be a place of rest, quiet. People would be there reading or walking or, just enjoying a picnic. But not necessarily, you're not going to have, a referee blowing a whistle or, a football whizzing by, and is meant to be a more peaceful place for people to enjoy.
And Hall's Pond is a perfect example, which was that last picture. That's fantastic. And well, not the last picture, the one before, but I think the last one was Fisher Hill. I'm not sure with that platform, but it's a combination of passive. To me, that's the perfect example of both, right?
Yes. Yeah. I would say Fisher Hill's, kind of a unique example in that it does have areas for that walking trail that surrounds it for kind of peaceful, passive recreation, but it does also have an active sports field in the center of it and a small play area at the end. So when I first started, I would say that Fisher Hill was one of the spots where I met a lot of people, older adults and residents in Brookline, and they told me that they really enjoy Fisher for like these early morning walks. A nice paved path makes it pretty easy to get around, no matter your mobility. Typically doesn't get too busy or crowded there early in the mornings. It's more actively used in the afternoons and evenings by the sports. So it's actually an active park, but does have these moments of like tranquility and peacefulness, which make it a really special combination.
So the other aspect of the passive is the connectivity, that people can actually sit down, and that brings up the parklets because it's a place where people who know each other or don't know each other can sit down and relate. People of all ages, absolutely, all abilities, with or without pets. And to me, they're fantastic.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we are really excited about the parklets. And, generally speaking, we try to keep in mind, how are we providing spaces for people to enjoy one another's company? Do people enjoy the Brookline as a town, as a place to live, to work, to play, whatever brings you here? And so these parklets are, basically mini parks. And this is something that we piloted last year in response to the pandemic. So in 2021, this was an idea of, okay, let's take a few of the parking spaces in commercial areas. We put Jersey barriers around it, and put this kind of small mini park in this space. And most people would say, oh, it's kind of like this outdoor dining space. And it can be, but something that we tried to do was make sure that it was clear that anybody could use these spaces. You didn't have to dine at a particular location to be able to sit there. And we wanted to make sure that they were accessible for all. So that's why you see in this photo here, there's this deck that's built up. So there is no curb change from the edge of the sidewalk to the deck itself. So a wheelchair or someone with a stroller can just roll right onto the surface itself. And we had 2 of these locations we piloted last year, and they were wildly popular. And so my team and I actually worked to get a grant, which we were able to receive from the Brookline Community Foundation, that allowed us to work with a segment of the population to design and build a 3rd parklet this year. And that was our Brookline teen population. What we noticed when we were caring for these spaces, watering the planters or, making sure that everything was functioning the way it's supposed to function, we saw a lot of Brookline teens there. It seemed like they were, grabbing something to drink at Starbucks or Dunkin', or, just kind of walking through, taking a break away from Brookline High School and decided to come into the Village or Coolidge Corner. And they were really enjoying these spaces and very complimentary. And I think the teen population is one that we as a division really want to be able to engage a little bit more. We do pretty well with young kiddos. We do pretty well with parents that are bringing the young kiddos, and certainly with older adults as well, in terms of getting their feedback and input into how we design and service these parks. But Brookline Teens was kind of a little bit of a gap for us. And so we were actively looking for new ways to engage them. And we thought, well, you seem to be liking this idea of a parklet. Like, how about you help us design it and build it? And that was able to come to fruition this year. So that parklet is in Coolidge Corner on Harvard Street, right in front of J.P. Licks.
I saw them working. I passed by while they were working there, and I was really impressed. They were they were completely involved, and it's a place. It works the way you say. You're describing it. You're describing it perfectly, and I pass by there very often. Both of them, at least 2 of them, probably all 3. And in every case, there's people there. They keep getting up and down. It's not like occupied for, it isn't people occupying it all day long. They're sharing, and it works. It works.
Absolutely.
So the schools, you did mention that the schools, you do take care of the schools too. I did want to bring that, right?
Yeah. So I think it surprises people a little bit, everything that, the Parks and Open Space team is responsible for. So we take care of all of the parks, which I think is, the first thing that comes to mind. We also take care of all of the town and school grounds. So, the library, town hall, any town building, areas outside of the police and fire stations that have some landscaping, all of that is us. We also are responsible for taking care of, median strips and traffic circles and like these little small green spaces that you probably don't think too much about, but help contribute to, making Brookline a great place to live and enjoy. So we take care of those as well. And then the conservation areas. So Halls Pond, Lost Pond Sanctuary, Deep Lake Lehore, Amory Woods, those are all nature sanctuaries, and we're responsible for, the conservation and care of those as well. So it's really a broad range to what the team takes care of. So it's, over 120 properties, it's, over 500 acres of town owned park and recreation facilities that we help to take care of. And that includes our school grounds as well.
So that's conservancy and what is forestry?
Yeah, so we also, the forestry team also sits under the Parks and Open Space Division. And so that's a small team within my staff, and they're responsible for taking care of all the street trees and all of the trees that are on public grounds. So if in the parks, in the conservation areas, on town grounds, on school grounds. And so we have a crew that's doing regular pruning and maintenance on those trees to make sure that they're healthy and doing well. We have folks that are, removing trees that are a hazard or have become ill and, are now dead. And we're also doing plantings every year as well in the public way. So we do some significant street tree plantings, and then also plantings that fall within a program we call the front yard tree program. So it's basically up to 20 feet off the edge of sidewalk in your front yard that you can get a tree donated to you free of charge. My team, helps decide what species would work best there, and they will plant it for you. And all you have to do is help take care of it. So it's a great program that allows us to have a little bit more of an impact in terms of increasing our canopy.
Oh, that's great. I had no idea. Now I'm in a condo, but still, that's interesting. That's a great program. What other programs? The art project. I saw a piece of the pictures that you're showing is great, but one of them looked like an art object. But you've also been involved with some recent art projects.
Yeah, so one of our goals in the Parks and Open Space Division for this coming year is really a couple things. One, how do we better engage with the community and make sure we're hearing from all members of the community? I think they're the people that show up to our Park and Recreation Commission meetings or show up to a big park opening event, and we're able to chat with those folks. But are we really reaching all segments of the population? And the answer is very likely no. And we want to do a better job to reach all audiences. And so one of the ways that we're thinking about doing that is how do we better engage the art community and bring some of that into our parks and open spaces? And so there's some examples where we have art in the park, either sculptures or, some donated pieces, but it's minimal. And so looking for ways to kind of clarify what role art can play to help enhance and contribute to a public space, but also thinking about ways that art can be the pathway for people to enjoy and participate and learn about nature as well. So we have an active project right now where we have received some grant support from the Brookline Arts Commission, and we are once again working with that population of teens to design some murals that will go on the utility boxes in our parks. So it'll be at Harry Downs and Corey Hill, and we have a
great,
artist.
Thank you.
We have a professional artist who's working with us, so it's not gonna, there will be some oversight to make sure that there's some quality control happening. But I think will be a really great opportunity for people to get their hands dirty and to just, add a little color and culture to the parks that we're adding these to.
Oh, so what is that picture?
So that is actually at Lars Anderson Park. And so that is one of the historical structures. This park was donated to the town by the Andersons many years ago. And so this was really, they had a very large estate here, all of the features there were heavily influenced by a few different cultures and types of history and art, one of which was Italian, and they had an Italianate garden. And so there are still these very historic structural walls, this area, the alleyway area, these are all remnants from many years ago. And most recently, one of our projects that we've been working on is actually a reconstruction of the historic structures down by the lagoon area in Lars Anderson Park. And so, those were considered to be unsafe and needed some significant rebuilds. And so I actually haven't had a lot of experience with historic structures before. So this was a week on the job. This was like the first project that we were kicking off. So it's been very interesting to kind of learn as we go with that. But, we rebuilt this small bridge that you're seeing here, the footbridge, the larger bridge in the center, the causeway, and then at the end, the Tempietto structure or the Temple of Love. It's a very iconic structure, I think, for Brookline. For a long time, it was the Brookline Park's logo, that Temple of Love. And so we were rebuilding each of those, but trying to maintain as much of the historical integrity as we could, but also making it safe and accessible as well. So, bringing some modernity to these structures, but still overall keeping the aesthetic of the park very similar. And we're wrapping up that park, doing the final touches, wrapping up that project and doing the final touches on the Tempietto this week and next. And that should be open for everyone to enjoy. And actually right now, folks can now walk down there and move around the structures. It's just the Tempietto itself that is still under renovation.
Okay, I'll be there. As soon as it's open, I'll be there. Um, okay, so we could go on and on. I mean, it's so many different. I can think of the different places I might ask questions about, etc. But what I do want, and we are about age-friendly community, and I did want to ask. I know people want to get involved, and I know people are involved. Can we discuss a little bit about that? Well, how people can be involved and how many are?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're very fortunate. We have a lot of people who feel deeply connected to all these different parks and open spaces, and to the point that they, have formed friends groups that help contribute to the care and ongoing maintenance of these different parks. And that's really critical. True to any municipal government, we don't have enough resources or enough people to do everything we're trying to do, and so we're really lucky that we have this engaged population of volunteers that helps us and is willing to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty, quite literally. So they're all the friends groups really function under this umbrella organization called Green Space Alliance, who's been, a friends and advocate for our park system for many, many years, and is, really the leader outside of the municipal government side around our parks and open spaces in Brookline. So very fortunate to have them. And then each of these friends groups that really take on some ownership and pride around each of the parks themselves. And so those folks are doing things like working with us. They're out there pulling invasives. They're doing some weeding, mulching, they're really contributing to the ongoing care and maintenance of the parks themselves, which is critical for us to keep them in good operating condition. So I would say that for folks who want to get involved, yes, please do. We welcome it. There's lots of opportunity for you to do so. And I was mentioning earlier, we really want to increase our community engagement around the parks. And one of the goals that I've set is that we're doing basically park cleanups and plantings, at least 2 every spring and 2 every fall, where we invite the community to come join us. Like, we'll bring the tools, we'll bring the supplies, the mulch,
Right.
the topsoil, the perennials, and help us dig in and care for one of these spaces. So we've been excited to see the turnout from each of those. And I think, it's just when you contribute to that space, when you help to plant that pansy, or you help to, pull those weeds, or, get that invasive out of there,
Yeah, absolutely.
you really take this ownership and it becomes your space. And that's really incredible and exciting to see.
Yeah, I saw that with Hall's Pond. You did that with Hall's Pond. I think you even did it with the Rose Garden. I'm not sure with but
Yeah, those are 2 spaces that have really active friends groups. We're very fortunate. So the Friends of Hall's Pond does regular cleanup days and maintenance work in the sanctuary there. And the Friends of the Minot Rose Garden do regular pruning and deadheading around the Rose Garden itself. So those are 2 spaces that we honestly, without those friends groups, I'm not sure we would be able to keep them up given our current staffing and resources. So it's really hats off to the community members that give us their time and expertise to do that.
no, that's great. The these are all positive, and I don't want to make this negative, but it's an important issue when people see issues like lighting is one of them that we run into. We run into the streets. Now, you don't do anything there. That's not your responsibility. But what if people have questions on parks or various issues about either lighting or they see things that need to be done? How do they communicate? How do they get to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, it's a really critical part to our system is that we have the eyes and ears of people that, their backyard is Emerson Garden, or, like right around the corner from them is Quarry Hill Park. Like, these are places that we go,
Right.
we're there to pick up the trash and, certainly do maintenance and improvements, but we're not there every single day. We don't look at those spaces every single day. We just don't have the capacity to do that. So we appreciate the eyes and ears of the community to help us. And so I think there's a few different options. Certainly one is Brook Online, which is, kind of this maintenance app that allows people to report, there's a broken lamp here, or, this
Right.
is there's some maintenance issue that needs to be addressed. And so that's true. You can submit that for our parks, but there's also that application allows you to submit maintenance requests for other, divisions or departments as well. And so
does it get to the parks? I mean, because my impression is when you use it that it's going to DPW, but does that get to you or someone?
Yeah, exactly. So remember, Parks is part of DPW, and so when we get one of those requests that comes in, basically there's a group of us that get every single one that comes in, or there's also the possibility that it ends up, going to the wrong place. It ends up in the building department or ends up in schools, and then they will see it and say, "Oh, nope, not us," and they'll send it over to us. So it does pops up in our inbox, and we do get those requests. And we obviously triage the ones that are emergencies and need immediate response, and try to chip away at the ongoing ones that are happening. So that's a great way to kind of share if there's an issue or something you're noticing that isn't working well. I would say that there's also the option that you can call the Parks and Open Space Division. Our operations team is in from usually Monday through Friday, 7 to 3. And so if you're seeing something that you think requires immediate attention, that's a good way to get a hold of us and let us know what you're seeing. And we'll get out there as quickly as we can to respond to it. So there's a lot of communication that happens, I would say, certainly between DPW, but also between all of the town departments, DPW, buildings, recreation, where we're all, working together to address some issues and help each other serve the community the best we can.
Right. This time of year, it's parks. And
Yeah.
it's 90% of really good stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you. So when you see issues, what happens? I noticed in the parklets, we don't have much time left, but I'm going to thank you again, but I really do want to thank you because parks is one of Brookline's greatest assets, without any question. I did notice there were questions people kept putting about trash in the parklets, that people would leave things. And I noticed that, and people are nervous because of COVID, they don't just pick up trash where they used to. I mean, we had examples from our leaders, community leaders, I won't get into them, but on picking up trash. But I think that there's a hesitation now that we didn't have. Can you say anything about that? I mean, is there anything?
Yeah, I could say a lot about that, honestly. It's probably been, you take a job and there's like the things are going to be challenges, and then there are things that hadn't entered your brain until you're in the job and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a big issue, huh? I would say trash management and litter management in our parks, in our parklets, in our conservation areas is challenging. So, I think before I was involved in this work, would have said, well, obviously we just need to put more trash cans out there and that'll solve the problem. It's a little bit more complicated than that, unfortunately. We have a limited number of staff and we only have one trash truck that goes around to pick up at all the parks. And it also picks up at all the schools for anything generated outside the building. So when everybody changed their lifestyle because of COVID and everything happened outside, learning was outside, school lunch was outside, people had birthday parties, and everything was outside. And so we have seen a significant increase in the volume of trash and waste, but we do not have an increase at all in the people or the infrastructure to deal with that. So adding additional trash cans sounds nice, except I really don't have anyone to stop there and pick up an additional trash can. So it becomes really challenging. So honestly, when people say, what can I do for my parks? Like, oh my gosh, please, whenever possible, carry in, carry out. You brought it there with you. You either walked there with the food in your hands or you drove there with the food in your car. Like, take the pizza box with you, please. Like, that is such a significant help.
Absolutely. That's great. I really thank you, because that's exactly, I think that's the only way, is people have to do it for themselves. We're running to the end. I can't believe this. We're finished. But I really want to thank you. I want to tell everybody else that the show will be shown this week and will also be shown at various times afterwards on Big. It's available on the Brookline Can website and on the Brookline Can Facebook and Twitter accounts. And please, please pick up your trash and take your trash away. And thank you so much, Alexandra Vecchio. And I'm looking forward to the future of parks with you directing it.
Thank you so much. This has been great. I appreciate the time. Have a great day.